Good evening, and welcome to This Week in Review. Tonight's stories include: we took our cameras inside the new healthcare facility. St. John Central High is getting a partial facelift. Work is progressing on the incinerator. Bay developers are installing the water line to the new healthcare facility, and more, so please stay with us. This past week, we took our cameras inside the new healthcare facility to see how work is progressing in the building. A lot has changed inside the building since we last filmed. This area will be the waiting area. These sections of the outer wall that are done with plastic are to be done with glass. The doors on the left of this corridor will be the doctor's offices. The rooms at the far end of the corridor are to be the long-term care or chronic care units. This room will be one of the chronic care rooms in the new healthcare facility. We're now working our way back to the other end of the building, where most of the storage rooms are located. Most of the storage rooms in this area of the building are constructed of brick. bricklayers are still working on the front and one side of the building. Bay developers from Corner Brook had the contract to run the water and sewer to the site of the new health care facility. Workers with Bay developers have been working on the road that leads to the hospital from Reach Road near the fish market. They've been drilling the road and blasting the area to run the water and sewer to the health care site. Another company, Airtight Sheet Metal, are doing the plumbing inside the building. We mentioned last week that some renovations were started on St. John's Central High School. I spoke with Mr. Marks at the school to find out more about the renovations planned for the building. This year, Phase 1 of the renovations will be carried out. Phase 1 involves replacing the windows on the eastern side of the building and the southern end with smaller windows, and the gymnasium windows are being removed altogether. The existing siding on these sections of the building is being removed as well. Sheets of rigid fiberglass insulation are being installed along with vinyl siding. Hopefully next year the front and other end of the school will be renovated as well, giving the school a new look. Also, general maintenance at the school this summer included the replacement of 5 doors, the replacement of the main water line, and the motors in 2 of the 3 exhaust fans were replaced altogether, while the third had a new belt installed. Mike Kelly & Sons, a company from Howley, are installing the guardrails on the Burgeo Highway. With the paving completed on Route 480, the only things that remain to be done are the guardrails and the stripes on the roads. Well, a company started work last week on doing the guardrails, and hopefully the striping on the roads won't be too far behind. Work is ongoing on the installation of the incinerator for Burgeo. We took our cameras to the town dump to see what progress has been made since we last visited the site. A lot has changed at the incinerator site since our last visit. The doors have been installed on the incinerator. As well, the top section has been put in place. When we visited on Wednesday, workers were busy marking out and cutting vents in the bottom of the incinerator. I contacted Mr. Ed Batcher, chairperson of the Seniors Housing Committee, to see if he's heard anything further regarding the seniors complex. He informed me that as of yet he hasn't heard anything since our last visit, but as soon as he does, we will be notified.
Good evening. I'm here this evening to tell you about a very important meeting to be held in Burgeo on September the 14th in the parish hall from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and to extend an invitation to you to attend the afternoon session. But first of all, let me give you some background information. During the 1991 winter fishery in the Port aux Basques area, a near riot erupted in the Federal Fisheries Office there as angry fishermen protested against fishing regulations and the collapse of the fishing industry for the inshore fishermen in that area. The Anglican clergy of the Diocese of Western Newfoundland were meeting in a retreat in Deer Lake at that particular time, and observing the riotous mood of the fishermen as they saw their livelihood disappear because of the depletion of the fishing stocks, they suggested to Archbishop Payne that the church should intervene and try to help alleviate the problems facing the fishermen and their families. As a result, a resolution to that effect was passed at that retreat. Shortly after that, Mr. David Pollock from the National Church Office in Toronto, Archbishop Payne, and Canon David Pearce from Corner Brook visited Port aux Basques, Burnt Islands, Rose Blanche area. Mr. Pollock did a fairly detailed study on the fishery and the economic and social problems faced by the fishermen, fish plant workers, and their families in that area, and presented it to the Western Diocese for discussion. On March the 20th and 21st of this year, a follow-up meeting was held in Corner Brook, chaired by Mr. David Pollock. Approximately 30 people attended that meeting, and these people came from all walks of life: clergy, sociologists, biologists, inshore fishermen, plant workers, a fish plant owner, rural development representatives, a representative from the Department of Federal Fisheries. From this area, Bill Bowles, Doris McDonald, Gerald McDonald, and myself were in attendance. At that meeting, I met Bill Party. He worked for the federal government through an agency called ACOA, that is, the Atlantic Canada Opportunities Agencies. He is stationed in Halifax. After I came home from the Corner Brook conference, I encouraged the vestry of our church to allow me to invite Mr. Party to Burgeo to talk about his philosophy on rural development and alternatives to the fishing industry. I don't have to tell you that Burgeo, like many other communities in Western Newfoundland, face desperate economic problems. The fishing industry and the production of the fish plant will never be the same, even if it were to open next week. One doesn't have to be a prophet to realize that in the near future, Burgeo is going to face massive unemployment, especially among our young people. I don't mind telling you that whoever doesn't realize this are not facing reality. As far as continuing to make unemployment insurance a way of life, I'm afraid you're going to be in for a big jolt there too. The government simply cannot afford to continue. So we must prepare ourselves for alternatives to the fishing industry. This doesn't mean that we have to do away with the fishing industry, but rather to find ways to start other industries, however small. Use the resources that we have in this area to create new jobs so that our young men and women can find meaningful work right here in Burgeo. This was the reason for inviting Mr. Party here. At the workshop held on May the 30th by Bill Party and sponsored by the Anglican Church, many things were discussed. Attitudes of people, resources that we have, and possible alternatives. 48 people of this community came to that meeting, and although nothing concrete or tangible was accomplished, people came away satisfied that a process to get Burgeo back on the road to a brighter future had been started. That process has continued through a small committee that was formed as a result of the workshop. This committee has done much work towards community development in the area of finding out what agencies of government can offer help. We have met with a number of officials since May 30th, including our MHA, Dave Gilbert, Bill Party, Enterprise Newfoundland and Labrador, the Town Council, the Rural Development Officers, and we have gained much valuable knowledge that will eventually be passed on to you, the public. Some of the committee members will shortly spend a week in Nova Scotia to observe what has been done in a particular area there towards economic recovery from the collapse of the fishing industry. Now the Diocese of Western Newfoundland want to have a follow-up meeting to the one that was held in Corner Brook. And I'm proud to tell you that Burgeo has been chosen for that meeting. Reverend Douglas Parrott, the Diocesan Program Coordinator, on behalf of Archbishop Payne, in a letter of invitation, gave this reason for coming to Burgeo. Here I paraphrase what he had to say. In May, the Reverend George Childs invited Mr. Bill Party, a COA representative from Nova Scotia, to visit Burgeo and assist in a meeting to discuss a number of possibilities for community development and economic diversification. As I understand it, nearly 50 people from the area attended this successful meeting, and a community development committee was formed. We thought it would be good to have our meeting in Burgeo to follow up on this excellent initiative, to hear from the people, and to share with them in matters of mutual interest and concern. As I have stated earlier, this meeting will be held in 2 sessions. The morning session will have restricted numbers attending, and the agenda will include an update on European lobby against foreign overfishing and review the details of the compensation package, which is not specifically related to Burgeo. The afternoon session, however, will be concerned with the social, economic, and cultural implications of the collapse of the fishing industry and how to respond to local initiatives, economic diversification, and community planning and development. In other words, the process already started here in Burgeo will be discussed. Our committee has been invited to make a report on its activities. The afternoon session is open to people who want to attend. We would like to see many of the people who attended the May 30th workshop to come again, and any others who would like to attend. It's an open invitation. The only condition attached is that you inform me if you are going to attend, because numbers could become a factor. The diocese will bring in approximately 25 people. Again, these people are from all walks of life, and included in this group is Mr. Gus Itzigeri, former president of the fishery products plant in Buren, and an expert in fisheries matters, some clergy, and the possibility of 4 bishops. Archbishop Payne will be here, but Bishop Martin Mate from the Diocese of Eastern Newfoundland has been invited, along with 2 Roman Catholic bishops from Western Newfoundland. There will be representatives from the United Church as well. So you see, Burgeo is going to be honored with the visits of some prestigious people. And what's more exciting is the fact that you also are invited to the afternoon session, unless you get a specific invitation to attend the morning session. Remember, this meeting is to be held on September the 14th in the parish hall, and you are invited to attend the afternoon session at 1 p.m. Remember as well that you are to let me know if you are interested in attending. We need to have a handle on the number of people attending. The parish hall can only accommodate a definite number. I sincerely hope that you will consider attending the meeting to be held on that date. It is my philosophy that if we don't try to help ourselves, then we will have to be content with what others decide for us. We most definitely should become so community-minded as to decide our own future. So I hope to see you at this meeting. Good night.
RMHA, the Honorable David Gilbert, was in town this past week. I had an interview with Mr. Gilbert during his visit. Well, it's been a couple of months since you last visited, Mr. Gilbert, so we'd like to welcome you back to our studio once again.
Yes, David, it's been a couple of months since I've been here now. I've been in Burgeo a couple of times in the last couple of months, but we haven't appeared, we haven't seemed to be able to make contact to get on and talk to you. But I'm always glad to be back in Burgeo. It's nice to be back here this time. I'm going to be here now for a couple of days, and I think you've warned the people that I'm going to be here, so those people who want to see me will get a chance. So, Burgeo seems to be a nice place to visit now. You can drive over the road and you don't have any dust or anything.